I would encourage every high school umpire who wants to work college baseball to attend our Umpire Prospect Camp.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm joined by George Drouches, the National Coordinator of Baseball Umpires for the NCAA. In this episode, we'll talk about his journey, the evolution of college umpiring, and the NCAA's initiatives to improve the profession. We'll talk about things from the Umpire Prospect Camp to insights on rule changes and future challenges. George is going to have a lot of great information for all of you, and we're hoping to continue this relationship throughout the 2025 season. Now, before we get started, I do want to say that this episode is proudly sponsored by Referee and the 2025 College Baseball Rules Study Guide. It's a must-read for umpires that are looking to break into the NCAA as well as those preparing for a great season. So be sure to get your copy at store.referee.com and enjoy a discount code with the promo code CALLIT. Again, that's store.referee.com. Use promo code CALLIT. All right, George. Well, it's good to have you here on the podcast. You're the biggest name guest we've had on the podcast. You're the only guest we've had so far, but still the biggest name guest we've had on it. In my role with Referee, I'm hoping to do a lot more direct interaction with you and your team, and try to bring you to the umpires wherever they are listening in. So I guess to start, George, if you maybe want to just tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into sports officiating, and what ultimately led you to your position with the NCAA.
Well, Patrick, thank you. Thank you for having me, and appreciate all your good work to improve not only high school officiating and college officiating, making us all aware of what we could do to be better. My background, it's obviously, I was an English major and a education major back in the 70s, and when I graduated in college from St. Mary's College in Winona, Minnesota in 78, I went on to, coach baseball at the high school. We made some pretty good runs at the state tournament titles. And, from that, obviously, I had a young family, got married and all that. And, how do we make ends meet? And, found out that I could, join a football crew or a basketball crew and make a little bit of extra money that could pay for the diapers, right, back then.
Yeah.
And it was a tough time back then. But you know what? Gave me an opportunity to understand the value of making extra dollars during a difficult time. When I left coaching at the high school level and teaching, I went back to my alma mater, St. Mary's, and I coached basketball and baseball, men's basketball and baseball for almost a decade. And I left there and put the program in a good spot. And then I decided I could use my networking skills with basketball and baseball and football, which I actually started, probably 8-9 years earlier, and decided to get into officiating. A couple companies hired me to get on board, but then I went out and I became officiating football and high school football, college football, college basketball, college baseball, and it became a wonderful avocation. So, to me, it's a business, Patrick. I mean, it's a wonderful opportunity to make some good money, but also at the same time to have a wonderful future. So that's really how I got involved in this. I mean, I was always involved, coaching, officiating, and then finally, when I left in the late 80s, I decided to go into college football, college baseball, college basketball, men's and women's, all the above, and turned into a very lucrative business.
Awesome. And then how did that transition to your current role with the NCAA?
Well, yeah, I mean, I worked in the Big Ten and the Big 12 for years, and then, when my predecessors, Dave Yates and Gene McCarter, they moved on. So in 2014, I was still 10 years into my role as the Division III national coordinator. Okay. So that I assumed that in 2004. So when we got to 2014, the job came open and I applied, and had a chance to interview, and they selected me as the national coordinator in July of 2014. So that's how this all evolved, if you will. So it's kind of
Absolutely.
it's a very interesting travail, if you will, Patrick.
Oh, I bet. I mean, I've got 15 years of umpiring, and I know I've picked up some good stories. It sounds like you have just a little bit more time than me, but I'm sure it compiles into these great stories and relationships. I mean, that's what, that's why we get into this, right? Just
Yeah.
those relationships you make and the stories.
Yeah, we exactly, Patrick. I mean, we only get to keep what we give away, right? I mean, that it's so true. And my belief is, taking on whether it's Division III or what, or now this job is to be a maximum service to God and to others. I mean, that's where I land with all this, and I'm excited about the fact that the improvements we made, but that's really the history of how this all unfolded. From my humble beginnings, it's been a great run. I'll put it to you that way.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, so over the last 11 years, you've obviously been sitting in the captain seat for all of this. What have been some of the biggest changes and challenges you've faced? I mean, I can't imagine, pro baseball, because when I work with like youth associations, a lot of them used to work off of OBR as their rule book. And I've been trying to tell them, like, that game is getting so far from what we do at the youth level, just with, pitch clocks and all that. It's a lot of change. And I know you're seeing a lot of change at the NCAA level. What does that look like over the last 11 years? What does that challenge look like for you day in and day out?
Well, yeah. I mean, when I look back coming on board July of 2014, the first thing we did is we went to Major League Baseball and tried to figure out how do we invoke video review into college baseball. So, I mean, I went out there to, Manhattan, at that time, and all the things that we've done, whether it's video review and push that forward another decade, but we did a lot of things with the umpire observation program. We put umpires, they're in the field. We put observers out there to scrutinize their work. How do we select them for our championship? Our relationships with Major League Baseball, the American Baseball, coaches associations, it's tremendous, the educational value we put out there compared to a decade ago. Just, changes in Omaha. How do we improve our College World Series, the business of it, and a relationship with Referee Magazine and REI. It's been tremendous, the Major League Baseball relationship. So, yeah, it's been a lot of stuff that we've done. It's been a day at a time, but I tell you, my legacy as I leave here, I know it's one of your questions, when I leave here, in August, we're in a good spot. We're in a very good spot.
Awesome. No, that's great to hear. And as I slowly am getting into the NCAA life of umpiring, I'm sure I'm going to see more of it too. So, and this will be the only time I'm going to ask about the future, but what do you think will be the bigger challenges coming after the 2025 season for NCAA umpiring? Is it replay? Is it automated ball strikes?
My concern is not how we conduct our business within the baseball world. It's the ramifications outside, regarding NIL and lawsuits and what's happening with the NCAA and roster size and all that. That's a big concern. But you know what? We've positioned the college baseball in a great spot. You look at the media coverage, the number of teams that are going into our regionals, super regionals, College World Series. The numbers are off the charts. ESPN, marketing, membership, number of people coming to Omaha, but it's very successful.
No, that's great to hear. And especially, the good thing is most of those challenges aren't on-field challenges, so they're not yelling at umpires. There's other people they're yelling at for sure, but thankfully it's not the umpires that hold those NIL deals and all that. Okay, so you've got your team. You're the coordinator of baseball umpires across the nation, and then I know you've got Randy Bruns as your secretary rules editor, Billy Hayes, director of umpire training, and then John Brower and Don Umland as the D2 and D3 coordinators, respectively. Yes. Is that pretty much everyone that's on your team, and how do you all work together?
Well, I mean, Yeah, obviously, I surrounded myself with the best possible people. These guys are handpicked, to be honest with you. But, we have, many baseball umpire advisors who've been in the field, Patrick, who, put out 800 umpire observations every year. So I'm excited about where we were, what we've done, what the future holds. We're adding more people. I'm excited about where the baseball umpire program, Patrick's going to be in 2025, 2026, and ad infinitum. Yeah, but you have to surround yourself with good people. Anybody in a leadership role should understand that, and that's what I've done. And I'm excited about it because we're in a great spot.
And so let's say, I'm a starting D3 umpire, getting my first year in. Am I mostly getting all my interactions with Don? Do you and John work a lot with the D3 umpires, or you kind of rely on him to handle that? How does that kind of work? And then how does an umpire move their way up? Does that involve you? Is it more just designers at the conference level?
Well, that's a great question. But, this past year in October, we created our first ever Umpire Prospect Camp. So what we did is we asked the federation, we asked, all the different schools that are involving umpires to come to Vero Beach, which is it's Dodger Town, right? The old Dodger Town.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball is holding their Umpire Prospect Camp right now. So we kind of emulate that. I think with the future is, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I would encourage every high school umpire who wants to work college baseball to attend our Umpire Prospect Camp. And this year we had 50 umpires, and and they're going to be put into Division III and maybe some Division II at a state-of-the-art facility, Patrick, which is Dodger Town, which is Major League Baseball. So it's a great relationship we have not only with referee, but Major League Baseball to improve our umpiring. So hopefully that answers your question. But regarding umpires who are already working, in Division III or Division II, I would encourage them to communicate with their coordinators. I would, encourage them to look at the manual, the rules, what we do on home plate. Get a mentor. I would encourage anybody in this business. They should reach out to Division I guys who've had success, Patrick, and become a mentor. Just ask them, how do I get better? Ask questions at the site. How do I get better? I would tell you, there's so many umpires who've had success in our championship, for 10 years now. They're willing to give back to these umpires to say, hey, what can I do in this situation? So that's what I would encourage, one. But regarding the guys who want to get involved in from the federation level to NCAA level, I would attend our prospect camp.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't too familiar with it. I did my minor league training there down in Vero Beach. It's a great experience, great history just to be on that campus.
Yes.
Would you suggest it then for D3 guys moving up, or just people that haven't done college ball yet come out to that camp?
Anybody in the federation level who, and I want to be sensitive to the federation but there's certain level of guys who just want to get on to the next level, right?
Yeah.
And, whether they worked a, state tournament or a district or a regional, whatever the nomenclature is, they should come to that camp because, we had 50 umpires there, and we had Major League Baseball teachers. We had the best of Division I coordinators there. We had Don and John there. That's the perfect spot for these guys to get awareness to the next level. So I think we have to be better with our craft to entice the umpires to come to this, because that's really the only portal to get in. I'm excited about our camp. We had a great camp down there. We a tremendous facility. If you've ever been there, it's
amazing.
Unbelievable.
How long was it?
We were there for about 3.5 days.
Awesome.
But we had Division I, coordinators, the Troy Fullwoods and, Paul Gillier. But we also had, Tom Honick and, Tyler Funnison. These guys work, teaching, major league umpires. So we had the facility. We kind of christened a couple, Building 5, which is Jackie Robinson's, his work with the Negro Leagues back there. I mean, it's tremendous. Yeah. It was exciting. And we had a couple of umpires got involved in potentially Major League Baseball opportunities. But we put several umpires into our world. It's exciting. We never did that before. Great. We never, Patrick, we never did that before. It's a template. It's a template.
No, that's great. And you keep developing it and making these new opportunities, and definitely helpful to create a more clear path on how to get involved with college officiating, because it can be confusing and overwhelming, especially with just the timetables for things. You think how many high school umpires are reaching out for the first time to an association here in January. But for college baseball, obviously, that starts a lot earlier. And I guess I would say for let's take an umpire that's looking at getting into working college baseball in 2026. I guess now it sounds like the first step would be sign up for that camp. And the camp is, when does registration open for that?
Well, what we did last year is we started the middle of October. It was about a Wednesday to Sunday camp. I mean, there's so many umpires out there trying to figure out how to get into college baseball. But then at least this is a portal, for these guys to start. So my suggestion is, that there's umpires who want to try to get into college baseball, then that camp is the first step. It really is.
And what would you say to someone who's wondering if they have the time to work a college schedule versus, the high school schedule, because it's obviously more time traveling, and what would you say to someone who, be at whatever age, said, hey, I'm not sure if I should get into college ball based on, where my age is? I mean, what do you say to guys like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's an avocation. I mean, baseball requires a lot of different times. I work football, I work basketball. My work at Division I or II or III basketball is that I didn't have to leave at, 11 o'clock, to work football or basketball. But for baseball, I did. So I think it's everybody's schedule in terms of how it fits into their work, their family, their faith, the business, and see where it lands. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there, Patrick, right now for umpires. I mean, it's a part-time job. You shouldn't be having to pay the light bill or the car bill or whatever, but it's a wonderful opportunity. It really is.
Yeah, and it's on a field doing something you love, and it certainly beats
yes,
sitting in an office.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, so that we've hit most of the main questions I had.
No, I mean, Patrick, I thank you for the opportunity to get on board, and I'll be here to help you in any way I can. I mean, obviously, I'm stepping down at the end of the year. Hopefully the next guy, I hope the next guy coming on board understands, it's a relentlessly challenging position or an opportunity. But if you love to compete, this is a great job opportunity. Yeah. But, our business is to improve officiating and improve baseball. That's our goal. But this is my 21st year with the NCAA. I was Division II for 10, here for 11. That's a long run, by the way.
Yeah. That's a very long run in sports officiating.
Oh, yeah. But, no, I mean, my hope is at the end of this year that we've increased opportunities for the umpiring to get better and for more umpires, Patrick, to get involved. That's my goal.
So one question I know I get asked a bit is strike zone automation, and what does, how do y'all judge someone's judgment, for lack of a better way of phrasing that? What does that look like? And I mean, are you getting those stats from every park at every level? And I don't even know how accurate those things really are. Is that something that gets to your desk a lot, or not really?
Well, what gets to my desk, Patrick, is the TrackMan, and the analysis. My concern with TrackMan is that making sure that everything is accurate. If things are not accurate, then the numbers are skewed. So It's a slow moving product, but we're getting there. But we understand.
Yeah.
We put together a strike zone initiative in the NCAA, which gave all the coaches to understand what's right, wrong, or what's in the buffer zone. But I will tell you, Patrick, what it did, we eliminated a lot of ejections for head coaches because everybody's accountable, pitch whatever the pitches were, right? And that we made some pretty good success. So what's coming? We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna downgrade umpires and pitches they missed and that kind of stuff. And no, we're not, because we don't know the calibration.
Yeah. Well, I think every umpire, myself included, has gotten a zone report back to us, and we've seen a pitch that is marked incorrect, and we're like, no, I'm pretty sure I called that right, and maybe the intern that was tracking it put the wrong input in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not a perfect science.
No, it's
for
not.
sure.
But getting back to respect to the coaches and the administration and the committees, yeah, I think eventually that's something we have to look at. But you're absolutely right. I mean, when I get a report from a coach that says, Patrick, missed 35 pitches, and he's one of our best ball and strike umpires in the country, I got to look at that and see, okay, what does that mean? But my concern with that is that if we're going to go that route, I want to make sure that when the coaches complain that, we're calibrating all the facilities around the country the same, because they're not the same. They really aren't. But we're going to get there. Eventually, we're going to get there, Patrick. But,
Yeah.
we know where our best ball and strike umpires are. We really do. We put them in our tournament. When you looked at our College World Series last year, I'm sure you did.
Yep.
I think it was probably one of our better officiated College World Series. It really was.
Well, you had a great crew.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the next thing to get to is what goes into that selection process, and how do umpires, advance to the next level? And, do you tell them that's the goal every year to make to a championship, or how do you talk to an umpire that, that might not be a realistic goal for them based on just experience or what have you, the amount of time left? What do you say to umpires in the selection process, and what do you tell them to be their goal?
So we put in almost 800 observations, and those reports went back to the umpires, went to the conference coordinators, or went to the Pac-12 or ACC, whatever. So everybody had the data. So our next step is to try to select the best umpires for our championship. Not only the best, but the right umpires. But it's based on the data. It's not the good old boys anymore. We put all these guys in the field. Myself, we got from LA to Miami we're all over the place, and it really improved our selection process. So when I report to the committee, we had all the data, and that really improved our umpires for the regionals, super regionals, College World Series, because we had data on everybody. So we're going out to see all the best umpires around the country. We're going to spend a lot of money, by the way, to do this. So that's my report back to the committee, my report back to the NCAA. But it's based on the recommendations from the coordinators, especially in the Autonomous Four. So that's our system. And it's worked well. Now, these guys may not make the best calls or a check swing call or whatever. But you know what? You look around in football, basketball, it's the same thing, right? But we'll minimize the damage is what we do.
Minimize the damage. As someone who assigns youth baseball, I think I live by that saying for that. What minimizes the damage, and what gets me the least number of emails? All right. Well, then, I guess last question here is going into the 2025 season. What are the things that you want your umpires to be most focused on while they're on the field, be it in the rules, be it mechanics? What are those things that you're really highlighting this year in their training?
Well, it's a new rules year. It's a 2-year rules cycle, Patrick. Yes, they need to look at, the double base and the foreign substance and ejections and all of that. It's all front and center. We have our rules and officiating video. I don't know if you've seen that or not. Hopefully you have.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I think it, and like we said before getting on here, I think it's just so important to be able to bring those things virtually to people
Yes.
on demand and
Yeah.
really present it cleanly that way.
Yeah, and our online clinic is about 4 hours long, which is longer than it ever has been. Some umpires have had concerns with that, but you know what? When we had our, in person, we were about 8 hours long. So I think this will fit.
Yeah,
But I mean, these umpires will take care of business. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. They've
Awesome.
known me for 11 years now. There's no surprises. There's no surprises.
Awesome.
I'm not a guy that I really don't want to downgrade you or anybody else because you couldn't fulfill whatever the obligation was. That's not my role. I'm 68 years old. I don't even understand that. To be honest with you. But no, we're in good shape. We're in good shape, and I thank you for your for your podcast here. But whatever I can do to help you. But I really believe college baseball is in a great spot. I really do.
Well, that's great to hear, and hopefully I'll spend more time on a college field moving forward. But for the meantime, I'm still rocking a lot of the NFHS games down here. But the goal for anybody should be the best umpire you can at whatever level you're working.
Well, get a mentor. Get a mentor for the. But whatever I can do to help, the transition between the federation to the NCAA. My encouragement for the federation guys is to, I would chime in on trying to find a mentor at the NCAA, baseball level. That's what I would do, because there's guys out there that want to give back, and I think every federation umpire should be checking in with somebody. What could I have done better on this play, that play? I mean, that's what we're all about, and those guys want to give back. I mean, so I would work with, Dana Pappas, and how do we make things better? Because that's the move forward to the NCAA. And that camp will provide opportunities.
Well, that's the goal. Awesome. All right. Well, George, I appreciate the time today. I'm hoping this will be something we can continue doing, trying to build that, like I said, be able to get to people wherever they are in their umpiring journey. Keep guys company that are driving to work a one umpire crew game at the high school level, which I can't imagine being any more lonely of a job. But hopefully, we can build a relationship with them, try to give them some advice here and there, and connect your team with everybody.
Well, Patrick, whatever I can do to help you, anytime.
Awesome. So there you go. That's our first guest on the podcast. Thank you so much for George for coming on, and we're going to continue having discussions with him and the rest of his NCAA team going throughout the season so that hopefully we can bring some good insight to you, the viewers. Of course, there were two big takeaways that I have from this. First of all, the role of mentorship and collaboration in advancing careers is absolutely massive. So if you're looking to make that transition, be sure to look for a mentor, someone who's already in NCAA umpiring, someone that you can learn from and that can help guide you through the process. And of course, that only works if you're someone who is in the NCAA, that you're giving back to those that are trying to follow in your footsteps. And the second takeaway is that the NCAA's Prospect Camp is going to be a great pathway for umpires looking to move up to the collegiate level. So if you're interested in learning about that, make sure you stay in tune with Umpire Classroom, and we'll share information on social media as it comes in. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and a big thank you to our sponsor, Referee, and the 2025 College Baseball Rules Study Guide. Again, this is a fantastic resource for umpires, really at every level. So don't forget to grab a copy at store.referee.com with the promo code CALLIT for a discount. Thanks again for tuning in, and as always, I look forward to seeing you on the field.